Welcome back to Silverstone for race 2 of the weekend. After race 1, we managed to catch up with Shane Kelly following his stall on the grid and the owner of CF Racing, Huell Lloyd.
A difficult start, but we managed to get restarted. The car did stall, but I know we had pace in the car, so it was just a case of then getting through traffic. I think the nature of the circuit, everyone struggles with that front aero, that turbulent air. But I think we made a good job of getting through. P6 isn't ideal where we wanted to be. Like I said, we had the fastest lap, so we got a point back from that. So we just needed to capitalise and gate well for the next race. P2 for the next one, it's just a case of, like I said, getting a start out of it, not a stall. That's the main thing, and get away. I mean, we know we can pick people off. We've got pace, so and go for it.
The F3 Cup Championship this year is quite strong, really. They've allowed the newer Form F3 12 cars in. Not last year, the year before, they allowed the other F308s in. And yeah, the level's kind of gone up quite well. We've got over 21 cars this weekend. And for the whole championship as a whole, I think going forward in the next few years, the numbers should be better, if not stay the same. Technically, the cars that we have now are as high as we can go with the costs and everything like that, without it being, still it's an F3 Cup Championship. We try and stay in the UK and keep the costs as low as possible. But yeah, the technology in these cars now is very high, and I think the drivers really enjoy having to be able to use the grip and the speed these cars have. So it's looking good.
Let's have a look at the grid for the second race of the weekend. Then Wade Eastwood once more starts on pole position, and alongside is again Shane Kelly, hoping for better things this time. Row 2 of the grid, Robbie Watson, the championship leader, Jacopo Sebastiani, with row 3 being George Line and Darryl Jones. Row 4's Tony Bishop and Stuart Wiltshire, and it's James Heffernan and Dave Gillett that line up on the 5th row of the grid. Beautiful warm conditions still here at Silverstone for the spectators. Very hot conditions for the drivers. Great start by the look of things from George Line from further down through the grid. A better start this time from Shane Kelly, and as they sweep their way up towards Copse Corner for the first time, it is going to be Wade Eastwood that leads. George Line in second position from the 3rd row of the grid. Now that was either a very, very good start from the reigning champion, or he might have been a little bit too keen to get away as they thread their way through what is Beckett's for the first time. Wade Eastwood leads. George Line is there in second position, and it's Shane Kelly that's there in 3rd place. Everybody's safely through the first couple of corners as they thread their way onto the hanger straight for the first time. Shane Kelly looking to try and tee up a move on George Line in the early stages. The blue car will tell you it's Robbie Watts who's there in 4th place, under pressure from Darryl Jones in 5th place, and Jacopo Sebastiani had a poor start. He lined up 4th on the grid and is down to 6th by the look of things as they head up towards Stowe Corner for the first time. So there's work to be done by the championship leader, who after the first race of the weekend here at Silverstone has strengthened his championship advantage. Everybody now threading their way through Vale and up towards Club Corner. Further down through the order, Tony Bishop goes wheel to wheel with Peter Venn, who's able to squeeze the number 9 car through and ahead of Tony Bishop, who's just outside of the top dozen places at the moment, as they now start to head up towards Farm and then through Abbey, as the race leaders are already now up at Village and heading up towards the loop. Wade Eastwood looking to try and make it 2 out of 2 if he can. Well, he's already won the last 4 races on the bounce. The one in race 1 here at Silverstone on the Grand Prix circuit, the 3 that he secured in the round prior to that was at Silverstone on the national circuit. And as they head down the Wellington Straight and into the braking area for the left-hander at Brooklands, it is Wade Eastwood that leads. George Line in 2nd place. Shane Kelly sitting there in what is 3rd position. Not a great deal to choose between the top 4 really. Robbie Watts in 4th place, then a slightly larger gap before we then see 5th place. That's number 91, Jonathan Hughes, who is fighting away. He's got Gino Ussi directly ahead of him. They'll be fighting for places just outside of the top 6 as lap 1 is chalked into the book by our race leader, and they turn their way through what is the very, very quick right-hander at Copse Corner. The first corner, very easy to run wide coming out of the corner, as by the look of things a couple of cars are doing. And Jonathan Hughes is running wheel to wheel with Gino Ussi there as they head out of Copse. They'll be heading up towards the Maggotts and Beckett's complex, which is where the leading cars are already starting to work their way. They're goes the current championship leader, Jacopo Sebastiani. He is sitting down in 6th position still at the moment and looking as though he is hugely keen to get up into 2nd place. Now is Shane Kelly, got a good toe on George Line. Is he looking for the inside line as they head up towards Stowe Corner? The champion from last year having none of it, sweeps across the nose of Shane Kelly and hangs on to 2nd position, and this squabbling will just allow Wade Eastwood to build a margin. Shane Kelly having another look as they headed towards the break area for the Vale, and he's able to squeeze his way through. So Shane Kelly up into 2nd position, George Line down into 3rd place. Robbie Watts is right with them also in 4th position, so it's 3 cars for 2nd, 3rd and 4th position, and just having gained the place over George Line, Shane Kelly is now having to defend because George Line is fighting back as they sweep their way through onto the infield section of the Silverstone circuit. George Line also under pressure from Robbie Watts, who's hugely keen to try and make a little bit of progress. Through Village, up towards the left-hander at the loop, they work their way. Now that George Line and Robbie Watts are fighting, just look behind Robbie Watts and there's another car that's poised and ready to pounce. That will be Darryl Jones, who's not too far away, as our race leader, Wade Eastwood, is just looking to try and further strengthen his stranglehold at the front of this race. In towards the left-hander at Brooklands he goes, and you can see already daylight between himself and Shane Kelly. The University of Wolverhampton that prepare the car, the motorsports engineering students, doing a great job. Huge supporters are they of Shane, and the celebrations we usually see when he's on the podium are fantastic, with all the students really supporting the hard works and driving efforts of Shane Kelly. But it's a real team sport, is motorsport, and they are equally as important. Through Copse Corner goes the battle for what is 5th and 6th position. The white car with its orange and black flashes of Darryl Jones under pressure. Elsewhere down through the order, car number 99, Tim Buckley, going wheel to wheel. He's in danger of losing a place if he's not careful. So a bit like race 1, we've just got battles. Wherever you look in F3 Cup, there are battles, and Tim Buckley has got his hands hugely full of Omar Ghazaz, who is looking to try and gain a place if he can. Omar jinks out from behind on the exit of Copse Corner. Elsewhere further up through the order on the hanger straight, Jacopo Sebastiani trying to look to work his way through and past ahead of Darryl Jones, has the inside line as they head up towards Stowe Corner. So the championship leader goes through ahead of Darryl Jones. Place gained, that's another couple of championship points to help his tally, and he can now look to try and close on the next car up the road, which is going to be the all-blue car of Robbie Watts, who is just behind this car here, the championship winner from last year, number 1, George Line. So they turn their way through Cullob Corner. Top 2 already up the road. George Line there in 3rd position, Robbie Watts in 4th, Jacopo Sebastiani in 5th place, and Darryl Jones in 6th place. But the news that's coming through is that the start for George Line was unfortunately a little bit too good, and therefore he has been given a 10-second penalty for a false start. That's not going to help Robbie Watts do anything other than still try and work his way through, because the last thing you want to do is lose time relative to what are the pair that are just up the road. So George Line 3rd on the road, but by the time you add 10 seconds to his race time, that is going to drop him down through the order all of the time, whilst Wade Eastwood in the lead of the race is pulling away from the pack behind. Shane Kelly in 2nd position, George Line 3rd on the road, but with the penalty to be applied, which will move Robbie Watts now up into the potential podium places, but he cannot shake away Jacopo Sebastiani. Here's another good fight going on. This is number 91, Jonathan Hughes, fighting away with Stuart Wiltshire. They're really getting their sleeves rolled up and getting stuck into each other. And as the race leader is already safely through Copse Corner, raising the dust is Shane Kelly in 2nd place, using all of the curves on the approach to the corner to try and carry as much speed as he possibly can through. And as for George Line, well, he's still 3rd on the road, and he's the cork in the bottle rather, isn't he? Robbie Watts is right behind him. Robbie may well not be aware, and neither might George Line, that 10-second penalty is going to be applied, but that's not going to stop them squabbling away for position. And now Robbie Watts gets a good run coming out of Chapel Curve. Unfortunately for him, he's on the left-hand side of the circuit, which is the wrong side really as you're coming up towards Stowe Corner, because it gives George Line the inside line for the right-hand corner, and he is able to hang on to the place. So still 3rd on the road for George Line, still 4th on the road for Robbie Watts. Then it's Jacopo Sebastiani that's 5th on the road currently. As I say, it has been deemed that the number 1 car, when the lights went out, he was already either out of position or the car was rolling, or he went even before the lights went out. George Line will suffer the penalty, as over the start-finish line for the Grand Prix circuit they thread their way again. George Line and 3 cars queuing up behind Robbie Watts, Jacopo Sebastiani, Darryl Jones, who's at the tail end of that little quartet of cars. which allows the front two to continually get away. And now, by the look of things, Robbie Watts being attacked by Jacopo Sebastiani. He's had enough of sitting behind. The London-based Italian looking to try and attack and really having to defend at the same time, because he's got that number 3 car of Darryl Jones right with him. Robbie Watts all of a sudden loses a place. Darryl Jones gains 2 by the look of it. So real shuffle in the order there. So at this stage, it's Wade Eastwood that still continues to lead the race from Shane Kelly in 2nd position. George Line is 3rd on the road at the wheel of the red and white car there, but that 10-second penalty is still to be applied, which means that Jacopo Sebastiani, who did still hang on to 4th on the road, ahead of Darryl Jones, is going to scoop up the final podium place once George Line has been informed, if he isn't aware already, that he's got an extra 10 seconds to add to his race time. Over the start-finish line comes our race leader. There goes Shane Kelly in 2nd place. George Line still 3rd on the road, but Jacopo Sebastiani looking destined for the final podium place. Darryl Jones going well. You would never guess that he'd been away from racing for a period of time. His first outing of the season. He's doing superbly well, despite the fact he's under pressure from the charging Robbie Watts, who was the big loser with all of that, and is looking to try and gain another place if he can, having just lost a couple. So he turns his way through Beckett's corner, out of Chapel Curve and onto the Hanger Straight, with George Line now under pressure from Jacopo Sebastiani, who is looking to try and work his way through from what is 4th on the road up to 3rd on the road and ahead of the reigning champion. He has the inside line for Stowe Corner. George Line looks to try and hang on to it, but didn't ultimately put up huge amounts of defence. So up to now 3rd on the road comes Jacopo Sebastiani. Down to 4th, but with the penalty to be applied, is George Line, and Darryl Jones is looking to try and pick his pocket if he can. Can't quite work his magic as they head round through the Vale. Another opportunity might present himself, but he's got to watch his mirrors at the same time, because it looks so Robbie Watts has got the run on him this time. Coming out of Club Corner, Robbie Watts looking to squeeze his way through. Here comes car number 58. That's the sole car that runs in the trophy class, Adrian Holy's Dallara, that harks back to the 2000 championship season of Formula 3. So he runs in the trophy class, which caters for those cars built between 1981 and the end of 2004, as the main pack of cars, which includes the charging Robbie Watts, continue their way out of the loop and up towards Aintree Corner, as our race leader Wade Eastwood is about to head into the stadium complex once more. Looks so the gap's come down slightly between 1st and 2nd. Shane Kelly pushing on again by the look of things. He's also now set the fastest lap of this race, so he really is working terribly hard. George Line needs to continue to work hard as well. He wants to try and keep cars behind him, but he doesn't really want to be slowing himself up either, because add the 10 seconds to his time, and that is, I think, going to drop him potentially outside of the top 6 in this race. There's number 4, Tony Bishops, who's had a fairly busy race as he threads his way up towards the conclusion of a lap. He's at the tail end of another quartet of cars that are busy fighting away, and that quartet is going to include Gino Ussi at the wheel of car number 23, Dave Gillette, who is there. Then it will be Tony Bishop that's at the tail end of that little quartet. They are all really rolling their sleeves up and getting stuck in. I think James Heffernan's involved in that little fight as well, so that's a good fight for what is 6th, 7th, 8th and I think 9th position at this stage. Down the Hanger Straight they all work their way, and as they now are about to head up towards Stowe Corner, it is George Line that is still hanging on to what will be 4th on the road. Despite the very best attempts of Darryl Jones, he's not been able to thread his way through and past the car ahead. I say not necessarily every driver is going to be aware that George Line has that extra 10-second penalty, and now George Line is the cork in the bottle. It has allowed Jonathan Hughes at the wheel of car number 91 to begin to close in as well. So great little fights going on as they're about to head up towards what is the farm and Abbey once more, and then in towards the braking area, the heavy braking area for the right-hander at Village, and this could present an opportunity here. George Line under pressure from Darryl Jones. He's looking for the inside line, not quite close enough, and now what might George Line be able to do as they head up towards the loop? He's still able to hang on to the place, so good defensive driving from George Line, but I'm sure he's not just slowing himself up, he's slowing up the cars behind. He might be better to let 1 or 2 go, because every time he's slowing them up, they're probably lapping slower than the next batch of cars behind, and therefore his extra 10-second penalty all of a sudden becomes a larger and larger problem. Wade Eastwood here in the lead of the races, without question, getting caught by Shane Kelly. The gap is being chipped away at, the amount of daylight is diminishing lap after lap after lap. Here's another scrap that's going on. It's between Philip Jeans and Tim Buckley. This is going to be for 18th and 19th position in the race at this particular stage. So they've got their hands full as they fight it out, as has Shane Kelly, who is looking to try and close the amount of daylight, which is getting ever smaller anyway, between himself and Wade Eastwood. Wade Eastwood would dearly like to make it 5 race wins on the bounce. Well, for Shane Kelly, the last time he won was for the first couple of rounds at Donington Park in what was the latter part of April. The first 3 races of the year he's won. He's been very patient waiting for another one to come along since, and well, he's doing everything right about it as they head onto the Hangar Straight. Wade Eastwood driving as hard as he can. He knows that the gap is closing, so he can't afford to rest up. He can't afford to just coast the car towards the checkered flag because the pressure is beginning to build. Here is another fight. This is Gino Ussi, number 23, still under pressure from Dave Gillett that sits behind. James Heffernan is involved in that as well, and then Tony Bishop's at the tail end of that little quartet as the race leaders are picking their way through the Vale and up towards Club. And well, for Shane Kelly, he has worked terribly hard to close. Now he has got the very difficult task of trying to get past somewhere and unlock the door to the lead of the race. That's at the sharp end. This is at the tail end of the field. Tim Buckley still working terribly hard at the wheel of car number 99 to see what he might be able to do to work his way through and past Philip Jeans, but good driving by Philip is just keeping his slightly newer Dallara, the F302, ahead of Tim Buckley as they thread their way through the Beckett's complex, and will then work their way out of Chapel Curve and onto the Hangar Straight once more. So still, as yet, it is not decided who's going to take up last place in this race, and this is the fight that's still going on. It looks as though Dave Gillett has worked his way through and past the car of Gino Ussi. That is the task that now befalls James Heffernan, but the first thing he needs to do is fend off Tony Bishop, who had a good look up the inside there heading in towards the loop. James Heffernan just hanging on to the place. Tony Bishop, unfortunately, that overtaking opportunity didn't work, and now James Heffernan is trying to attack Gino Ussi. So good little fight everywhere again in F3 Cup, and not least of which this one here, Gino Ussi, James Heffernan and the charging Tony Bishop looking to try and steal a place if at all he can. They'll head over the start-finish line and through Copse Corner, which is where this fight is working its way now. George Lyne still ahead of Darryl Jones by the look of things. And where is that fight that we were talking about? Should be coming into sight any moment now. Yeah, here it comes now, the yellow car with its blue flashes, Dave Gillett, and here comes Tony Bishop having a look at the inside of James Heffernan. That won't work, so the order still remains the same with those 4 cars as they are now about to turn their way out of Beckett's and onto the Hangar Straight yet again. So onto the Hangar Straight they'll go. George Lyne being attacked by Darryl Jones. This is for 4th on the road, of course, but don't forget George Lyne has got that additional 10-second penalty that needs to be applied. So either way, Darryl Jones is going to potentially claim the championship points for 4th place, but ideally he wants to get past the car ahead. And this is another fight that's going on. This is Malcolm Scott fighting away with Omar Gazaz. So Malcolm Scott at the wheel of the 2006 Dallara, Omar Gazaz with the 2009 Dallara, draws himself alongside, but that's the outside line as they come up towards Stowe Corner, so I suspect that shouldn't be successful. What might he be able to do on the exit? Well, the answer is not a great deal, so Malcolm Scott, for the moment, still hangs on to the place as they head downhill and in towards the braking area for the Vale. You see just how warm it is here at Silverstone, the sun beating off the cars, the heat haze rising off the tarmac, and that is going to make it very, very difficult for the drivers, but it's not halting the efforts of Tony Bishop, who again has another quick go up the inside at James Heffernan. He's tried that 3 or 4 times, it's not been successful as yet, and now Shane Kelly in 2nd place has got himself in prime position here. He will be picking up a bit of the toe, runs a bit wide again though coming out of Copse Corner. You can see the car bouncing over the curbs. That will unsettle it. It will also raise the attractions of the officials and the attentions of the officials if he keeps doing it. Here comes George Lyne. He is still at the moment managing to keep Darryl Jones at bay, but as we say, by the time you add 10 seconds to George Lyne's time, that is going to see him without question outside of the top 6. I think it puts him in 9th position currently as they turn their way through Beckett's, and Darryl Jones desperately trying to see what he might be able to do to find some sort of opportunity here to work his way through and ahead. And thankfully for Darryl Jones, he's not really under pressure anymore, is he, for what ultimately will be 4th position in this race. Stuart Wiltshire is just too far adrift as Darryl Jones has another quick look heading up towards Stowe Corner. Not meant to be, so still bottled up behind what is George Lyne. And following that false start from George Lyne, he is going to not accumulate quite as many championship points as otherwise he could, I fear. It's been a difficult season, 2017, for the reigning champion. Even the very first race meeting at Donington Park, it didn't go to plan from there, and it's really not been his year so far. as Darryl Jones is looking to try on his return to the championship, put one over on the reigning champion. So through the right-hander they'll go, and as they then head into the heavy braking area at Village Corner, he's eventually able to squeeze his way through. So Darryl Jones goes through now onto 4th place on the road. Doesn't net him any more points, but he's just now got past the car that's got that 10-second penalty. So George Lyne losing a further place, and didn't put up huge amounts of defence for that, but it is going to be Wade Eastwood who heads over the start-finish line onto his final lap of the race, and Shane Kelly had charged, had closed the gap, but it looks as though as they enter the final lap of this race, the gap has just come out a shade more. So Wade Eastwood cannot really afford to let up, but he's not either equally as much under any pressure as they turn their way through Beckett's for the final time, and it does look as though he is well on course potentially for 5th victory of the season, but more importantly 5 on the bounce. It means every race in F3 Cup that Wade Eastwood has entered so far this year, he has won. And for a driver who has very, very little single-seater experience, he did a Formula Renault test, but not a great deal more other than that, he clearly is a very, very good driver who is working well with the team that prepare his car, and Wade Eastwood is on course for another victory for him and another victory for Hugh Lloyd and the CF Racing team, because there's only a matter of, another half a lap to go in reality as they head out of Club Corner in front of the wing with the Grand Prix pits below it, and turn their way very quickly through what will be the sweeping right and the sweeping left and into the tight right-hander at Village Corner. And for Shane Kelly, he's not really close enough this time. He needs to be right underneath the gearbox of the race leader through the loop if he wants to have an opportunity to slipstream his way into the lead of the race as they head onto the Wellington Straight. A nice exit out of the loop for Wade Eastwood. As we look further down through the order, this is Malcolm Scott coming under huge pressure from Omar Gazaz on the final lap of the race. They're wheel to wheel up the top section of the Hangar Straight. Can Omar go through and sweep his way around the outside? That would be very brave indeed. It's not for want of trying all the way he tries around the outside, but great driving from Malcolm Scott, hangs on to that position. That is going to be for what is 13th and 14th, but this is for the lead of the race and for victory in the second of the 2 races for the F3 Cup here at Silverstone. It is going to be another win for Wade Eastwood, his 2nd win of the weekend in glorious conditions here at Silverstone, his 5th on the bounce as Shane Kelly comes through and finishes in 2nd position. That will help his championship aspirations, and we should see Jacopo Sebastiani come through and finish in 3rd position. Looks as though car number 18, which is Dave Gillett, is going to come through and complete the top 6 ahead of Gino Ussi in 7th, and James Heffernan will finish by the look of things in 8th position. He had a busy race. There wasn't any part of the race that James Heffernan wasn't either attacking somebody or having to defend from somebody, and James Heffernan will finish in 8th place with, unfortunately, George Lyne. By the time you add the 10 seconds to his race time, he will finish in 9th position. So Wade Eastwood makes his way round on the slowing down lap. He will be heading into the pit lane, but by the look of things, so busy were he and Shane Kelly battling, they miss the checkered flag and they go through to take it for the 2nd time. Confirmation of the results, Wade Eastwood claims the win with Shane Kelly in 2nd place, and Jacopo Sebastiani keeps up his string of consistency in 3rd. Darryl Jones in 4th, ahead of Stuart Wiltshire, Dave Gillett, and it's Gino Ussi, James Heffernan, George Lyne and Peter Venn that complete the top 10. Well, our top 3 drivers head towards the podium where they are congratulated by all of their respective team members, and great respect to each other as well from Wade Eastwood and Shane Kelly. They will be very pleased indeed as what has been a hot and a busy but fantastic weekend here at Silverstone in the F3 Cup 2017 Championship. That's all from Silverstone. Join us next time out when we will be at Snetterton on the 300 circuit.